Hey up, it's that old Yorkshire geek here, and as you can see from the screen, it's the Orville. We're on the bridge of the Orville, so we've got Season 3, Episode 2 of the Orville, New Horizons. Its new title. It's not as good an episode as the season opener last week, but it's still a solid episode. It's reminiscent of old Next Generation episodes such as I had them all worked out in my head. Is it like Identity Crisis and Genesis and things like that? It's a bit of a body horror episode. But anyway, so we will get on with it. So where's my video? As usual, we'll do. I'll just go through the episode. I've watched it once this morning on Disney Plus in the UK. No notes as usual because I'm useless. I know. Meanwhile, before we start, see the red boxes up there on the right hand side of the screen, top right. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the videos and drop a comment in the comments if you agree with me or disagree with me or think I'm full of nonsense, which is fair enough. Right, off we go. So we start off. What's happened there? What's that gone to that for? That's miles on in the episode. How bizarre. Let's press stop again and see what happens. And press play. And there we go. Yeah, that were weird. My video threw a bit of a wobbly. Right, so we start off. There's the Orville cruising through space, and there's a meeting in the conference room, I suppose it is. And they're picking up an Admiral Christie. Oh, I nearly forgot his name then. Admiral Paul Christie. They're going to pick him up, and he's going to do some negotiations with the Krill, so that Union ships can pass through Krill space to an unexplored sector on the other side of Krill space. And it's all jolly exciting for Ed Mercer. And we see that Claire, upon hearing the Admiral's name, is seems a bit concerned, and Lieutenant What's-Her-Face, the strong one, I can't remember her name. Oh, what's her name now? Let me see. I can never remember. Lieutenant, that's it. Tala Kayali. There we go. She asks Claire if she's okay. She says, yeah, she's fine. She just didn't sleep well. But obviously we know something's up. She knows the Admiral. So anyway, so they set a course for this place where they're going to rendezvous with a Krill ship. So we see the Krill for the first time this season. And then the Admiral's arrived, by the way. There he is. I don't know who he is. Might be a super famous actor, but I don't know him. Well, this is Admiral Paul Christie, and it turns out him and Claire used to be married. He was one of her professors at the academy or whatever, and or university, and after she graduated, they got married. They had a relationship in her final year, and then after she graduated, they got married, but it didn't last long. But they seemed, that she was devastated at the time, but she's got over it, and she's never married again. I had to look it up. I'd forgot, and I was thinking, hang on, then who's the father of Marcus and Ty? And because I couldn't remember, so I looked it up, and they were artificially created or whatever. She did an artificial pregnancy. I don't know. Is it artificial, sperm that they use? I don't know. But so basically, Marcus and Ty don't have a dad. Anyway, so he's here, and he's been, he wants to, obviously he wants to rekindle something with Claire, but she doesn't want anything to do with it. She tells him, she's got boys, and he seems, surprised. Doesn't ask her if who the dad is, but never mind. It's the 25th century in the Orville. Such things don't matter. So anyway, they decide to keep it, professional. There we go. And then we have the opening credits, which is very nice. Very nice. Right, anyway, so we start, we open up and there's a reception for the Krill. You see one of them there. They seem a bit uncomfortable, but, it goes off without a hitch. But Claire and Kelly decide to, leave early, and they go back to, I presume it's her quarters, to polish off a bottle of wine. I presume it's wine. They don't tell us what it is. Some alcoholic beverage. But that's the reception. There's Isaac, trying to blend in, doing awkward applause. This is Kelly saying, yes, do you mind if we go? And he says, no, I'll stay here and give myself cirrhosis. So that's the first quip of the episode. Not many jokes. There's not many jokes in the Orville these days. But there's a couple in this episode. This episode, by the way, was directed by the John Cassar. Just thought I'd drop that one. Last week's was Seth MacFarlane. This one is John Cassar. Anyway, so this is Claire. She's telling Kelly that she was married to Admiral Christie back in the day, and it's going on all about it. It's all jolly. This is a Claire episode. So anyway, so they're having a nice time. Another massive room on a starship. I go on about in Strange New Worlds. All the rooms are massive on the Enterprise. Well, on the Orville, the rooms are equally big. And it's even got a staircase, look as that one. So doesn't look big from the outside, does it, the Orville? But it must be. Right, anyway, so here we go. The negotiations. The Krill have been, a bit obtuse as usual, but they're not being aggressive or anything like that. And they warn the humans, the Union, that the region that they're wanting to explore, it's some sort of expanse. I can't remember the name they give it. Is a dangerous place. It's got demons in and with loads of eyes and stuff and sharp teeth, and they shouldn't go there. But the humans said, well, we're explorers. And they said, well, whatever. You've been warned. So that's all. They don't threaten them. They don't say, we'll stop you from going there. They just say, on your head be it. So, and that's fair enough. The negotiations are fine. All right, and the Krill say that they'll only allow one ship, I presume one ship at a time, to pass through their space, and to allow it, they've got to fit a tracker to the ship. So, and they reluctantly, agree to that. So now the Orville has got a Krill tracking device on it. Is that going to come into effect later on in the season? I don't know. They don't mention it again in this episode, but we'll see what happens. So the Krill basically know where the Orville is at all times now. So anyway, so they go on their way. The Krill sod off. This is where they're still doing the negotiations. I'm not sure who this fella is. It reminds me. I don't think it is him. I haven't seen the cast list, for the guest stars for this episode. But it reminds me of John Fleck, who played Silic, the Suliban. And he played other characters in Star Trek. He played Silic in Enterprise. And I've seen him in other Star Treks as well. I think I've seen him in Deep Space Nine and Next Generation. It might not be him, I don't know, but his voice kind of reminded me of him. I'll have to... I've looked, but I haven't found an episode, a guide for this particular episode. It's not on Wikipedia, not that I've noticed. I'll have a dig at it. We'll do it now, eh? What the heck? I know this isn't a live video, but it might as well be. So I'll type it in. If you can hear clickety-clicketies, it's because I'm on my computer. Come on then, machine. What you doing? Oh, here we go. It's all starting to go wrong. The universe doesn't want me to look up the Orville episode 3. 2. Oh, season 3, episode 2. You know what I mean? Orville Shadow Realms. That's the name of the episode, by the way. Shadow Realms, which is kind of spooky. And it is a spooky episode. It's basically a horror episode, is this? It's a body horror. Right, let's have a look. Who we got? Oh, it is John Fleck. Oh, there we go. See how I write. It is John Fleck. And we also get a brief appearance from Victor Garber as Admiral Halsey on the subspace, communications. And there's a few red shirts. Obviously, they don't wear red. Or do they? Some of them do. Some of them have red, don't they? Some of them have green. There's blue, red, and green, isn't there? Is that all there is? I think that is it. I think blue's command, isn't it? Red is like security and engineering operations, I suppose it'd be called in Star Trek. And green is science and medical, isn't it? So I think that's all there is. And I think the admirals wear purple. I think they do. Right, but anyway, whatever. Right, that was it was John Fleck. That's John Fleck, is that? I thought it sounded like him. Good actor, I like him. They bid him farewell to the krill. Sort of. It's about time they got transporters, isn't it? It's about time. And we see later on the episode, the final part of the episode, it does have some issues with me. Things aren't addressed that I'm thinking, well, what's going on there? And some of it's to do with transporters, for me anyway, and or shuttlecraft. It's not explained, but we'll get to that. But it's about time they found some transporter technology. Because all this moving about in shuttles, I mean, nobody seems to have transporter technology. But there he is. There's Admiral Halsey. You can see there in the bottom. That's the what do they call it? I forgot what they called. What did they call their ship that they flew at Kitty Hawk? The Wright brothers. Oh, I can't remember now. Tell you, my brain, such as it is. Anyway, so they're deciding they are going to go and explore. This is it's like a restaurant on the Orville. Admiral Christie talks to Claire, and we find out he's still got his wedding ring that's made from some, peculiar stone that I've never heard of, and he still carries it for luck, and he puts it on later in the episode. There it is. There's the ring. We don't know if she's still got her ring. He asks her if she's still got hers, and she doesn't reply. So anyway, off they go to this spooky place that the krill don't like. I say it's full of demons. And there we go. Meanwhile, Admiral Christie talks to Isaac. He's learned from the crew that Isaac and Claire used to have a relationship, so obviously they've got something in common, so they have a quick chit-chat about that. Isaac's obviously all logical. There he is. Dee-dee-dee. Then we move on. Oh, there's the Orville. Right, so they're entering this area, this spooky area of space. It's like looks a bit like a nebula, as we'll see. If I can, get a good picture of it. Oh, for crying out loud! I'm not having much luck with this video, am I today? Oh, for crying out loud! Anyway, there we go. Anyway, so they go through, and actually it seems like a bit of a void. There's no stars. We've seen that in Star Trek before, haven't we? So it's obviously some sort of dark nebula that's blocking out the stars beyond. Anyway, they fly in and they find this it turns out it's a space station. It's a big structure, and they can't find any. They can't detect any life signs, so they take a shuttle. The senior staff take the shuttle. So basically, who goes? The captain, the first officer, this admiral, the chief medical officer, I think the chief engineer and the chief security officer all go, on this mission to an unknown place that they don't know anything about, that the scans can't really tell them, but they all still go anyway. Because it's... Oh dear. But never mind. I mean, they used to do that in the original series of Star Trek, didn't they? But we've learned better since then. Anyway, so here we go. So the shuttle, approaches the station, this alien station, and they get on board. Actually, the station actually opens up for them. This thing opens up, and they go inside. So it's like all automated, I presume. But they're still detecting no life signs inside. And the inside looks a bit Tin Man, a bit like Tin Man in Next Generation. Organic. So anyway, they split up. Because that's always sensible, innit? And the Admiral finds... there we go. No, that's not it. The Admiral finds these things on the walls. There we go. One of them opens up as he approaches, and then it sprays something in his face. But we don't actually see it. It's actually done it. It's opened up. It has actually released something to him, but we don't actually see it. And anyway, so they think, that there's still no life signs being detected, and so Ed says, let's head back to the shuttle. So they do. I think no, that comes later. Another ship appears later, but that's not in this part. Right, so there we go. So they head back. They're doing they're in Isaac's lab, aren't they? So they're doing a briefing. And then Admiral, just suddenly falls to the ground and he starts changing. There we go. See if we can get a shot of him. There we go. He goes all manking. He starts changing. And then we find out that the thing released some sort of spores that's gone into his system, and it's changing him, to molecular level. It's changing his DNA. We've seen this before in Star Trek. It's basically turning him into another species. We've seen that before. It happened to Jordan. It happened to Archer, didn't it, in Enterprise? So anyway, so they're trying to keep him comfortable there because he's growing more eyes. Remember the Krill said creatures with 8 eyes and fangs and stuff. So he's obviously turning into one of these creatures that the Krill have warned us about. They call them demons, but it's just another life form. That this is the way it procreates. Right, so they decide to go back, this time in full EV suits, and they want to get a sample of whatever's in these little pod things. So they do. They get a sample. It turns out there's these spores inside, and Claire learns that's the way they reproduce. There we go. His eyes getting bigger. See, we're getting further on into this episode. By the way, this episode is an hour and 5 minutes. Another longish episode. Anyway, the long and the short of it, another ship appears. It's slowly approaching. We don't interact with it in any way whatsoever, but it's just there, lurking. And it's obviously, the same, it's made from the same materials as the space station, so it's obviously from the same race, but they don't communicate with it, and it doesn't do anything. It's just there. And so next up, the Admiral disappears from sick bay, And he heads straight for engineering and uses his command codes to shut all the power down on the Orville. Here we go, there we're seeing it all going down. Shuts all the power down on the Orville, including life support, which I thought were weird, but doesn't shut down the artificial gravity because they're not floating about. And I thought it's obviously left life support because they're all still breathing and they're not freezing to death. But obviously, and nobody mentions it. Nobody says we've got to get power back, before the air that we're breathing runs out. We've got to get life support back. Nobody says that. But later on, when they do get power back, 'cause obviously they do, Commander, what's his face? What's his name now? I'll tell you. Yeah, John Lamar, the chief engineer, says we've got life support back. I didn't even know they lost life support, but obviously they did. Right, anyway, so we get to a creepy horror part of the show now, where they're all walking about. They're not bumping into many other people. There's a lot of people walking alone down corridors and stuff, and they're not coming across anybody else. And I'm wondering, where's the crew? Are they all just confined to quarters? Maybe so. Anyway, this fella is the nurse from sick bay. Don't ask me his name. Let's have a look. Does it say? Does it say on IMDb? Let's have a look. Nurse. Does it say? Oh, there he is. Nurse Park, Henry Park, played by Gavin Lee. So there you go. Thank you, IMDb. He hears some noises and he goes wandering about through the corridors. He finds the Admiral's uniform there on the deck. We know what's going to happen, don't we? We know what's going to happen. Oh, hang on, I've missed it. Let's go back. He turns round and... Oh, for Christ's sake. There we go. You see, here's a noise. There's nothing in front of him. We know it's behind him. It's behind you. Because it's a scary, scary stuff. Come on, get on with it. And there it is. A scary monster with loads of eyes and big sharp teeth. A drool, black drool, to make it more scary. They could have made them eyes a little bit wetter, couldn't they? A little bit shinier, but never mind. So, there we go. And by the way, it sprayed the alien, the Admiral. It sprays something. Actually, no, we don't see it in this one. We don't see it with the nurse. We see it later on. Right, so... meanwhile, that shuttle, they come back. Obviously, there's no power, so obviously they can't get into the shuttle bay because it's probably decompressed. Because there'll be no force field, will there? So the dock manually at a docking port, and that's how they get back on the Orville. Meanwhile, Ty and that's Claire looking for her kids. They're not in the quarters because they're idiots. She's always told them to stay in the quarters if something goes wrong, and they don't. They sod off. And they end up roaming the corridors, not meeting anybody else. Where's the rest of the crew? And they end up in, I don't know, is this the mess hall or whatever? And they see one of these creatures. I don't know if it's the Admiral or is it the nurse. I don't know. Nurse Park. But anyway, there it is. You can see they're crawling along the walls and stuff and ceilings and all that. It's kind of spooky. But then another crewman arrives. He didn't see it. There he is. He says he's going to get him to safety. But there's the alien behind him. Can you see? You just see it there. And it drops down and it sprays something on his face, and he instantly changes into one of these aliens. The Admiral, it took a while, but obviously the spores or whatever from the alien itself is more concentrated, and it turns him almost immediately. But it looks painful, and it's quite gruesome, I suppose. And so he changes. So now there's 3 of them. And we see later on the episode there's a lot more than that, but we'll get to that. Anyway, the boys are okay. They get away. Come on, get on with it. Right, meanwhile, Engineer Lamar, Chief Lamar, that's what we call him. He's scurrying about the engineering conduits, as Isaac puts it, but, the Jeffries tubes, aren't they? He's scurrying about trying to get power back, and Isaac's with him somewhere. I thought they'd made a mistake, because I thought apparently communications is down, so they can't communicate with anybody, in other parts of the ship. And then he talks to Isaac, and I thought they were talking, via a communicator, but they're not. It was just like the other end of a conduit. Anyway, he managed to get, he finds, a power relay, I suppose, and gets auxiliary power back. There we go, power starts coming back. It's not full power, it's just auxiliary power, but it's enough for a force field, we see in a minute. Because he gets chased, one of these creatures. He sees one of these creatures, there we go, in the things, and he starts bloody crawling, the fastest crawler I've ever seen in my life. I'd have been all over the place, my knees would have been killing me. But he's a really fast crawler, and he gets away from this creature. He knocks it into, anyway, something that sprays mist. I don't know if it's a fire extinguisher or what, I don't know, but that lets him escape. So he goes running, and then ends up, two of these creatures are after him. So he shuts himself, he gets into the brig, and he basically locks himself behind a force field in the brig. So even though we're on auxiliary power, there's enough power for the brig force fields, which I suppose is fair enough. And these are trying to get through the force field, but they can't. But then Lieutenant Kayali comes in. Have I got that right? I can never remember her name. Kayali, yeah. She comes in, and she says, "Oh, you assholes, follow me." So they chase her. Here we go. Now they're chasing her. And they go to one of the cargo bays, and she has quite a good fist fight. 'Cause remember, her species is super strong. I'd actually forgot about that. Remember the old, in season 1, Ed were always asking her predecessor, whose name I can't remember, to open a jar of pickles whenever he wanted anything strong doing. Excuse me. Sorry about that. That was the postman knocking on the door. Hey, I always get interruptions. I'm not going to edit this out either. Even though it's not live, I'm not going to edit it out. Never mind. Right, so where were we? She has a fight with two of these creatures, and she's punching them and throwing them, and I don't know if she kills them or not, I don't know, but she wins, and she gets one and takes it to sick bay, so the doctor can examine it. There we go. Meanwhile, Isaac encounters one of these creatures and it ignores him. It's all like, looks him over, and then just carries on about its business, because, he's a robot, basically. Then Isaac finds Lamar in the brig, lets him out. And they've got to find a way to, stop these creatures. The doctor, the other ship arrives, but, it doesn't do anything. The doctor finds out that the DNA is totally changed, that it's not human anymore, but she does detect some white blood cells, which is, so says he was human. And then she finds out that their immune system is, they've got no immune system for a couple of weeks after the transform, so she could, create an artificial virus that would kill them, and it wouldn't have to be very strong. It'd be like a common cold, and it'd probably kill them, but it, give the crew the sniffles. But you think with the crew, with all these different species, there'd be all sorts of germs floating around anyway, mild ones, but whatever. Right, where were we? So she does that. She devises an artificial virus. So they go. They need to talk to them to, basically see if they can communicate with them. And she asks the Lieutenant Kearley, to scan the ship for this mineral that the ring, the wedding ring of Admiral Christie was made from. So she does that. It says it's in engineering. So the head's in engineering. The head's engineering. Here we go there. They're about to go to engineering. Actually, she's scanning there for that stuff. So they go to engineering. There we go. And they have a fight with a couple of the creatures. They zap them with their weapons. Obviously, the dampening field's down, because apparently a dampening field were created when all the ship's power went down. They couldn't use weapons or communicate. But obviously, that's down now, so they can use the weapons. I think they're just stunning them. I think they're stunning the creatures. They're not killing them. Anyway, so she talks. She finds out, which one's Admiral Christie. And she talks to him, and he talks back. So they're not. So they are intelligent. They're not just, animals. And she says to him, they've developed a virus that'll kill them if they don't leave the ship. Take your people and go. That's what she says. And says no. They're all going to be part of them. It's basically, they're going to change them all into them. A bit like the Borg, aren't they? But different. And she says, if any part of Paul is in there, she'll remember how stubborn she is, and she means what she'll say. She says, if they don't go, she'll kill them all. So then he agrees. He says, okay, then we will go. And then that's it. They all scurry away, and then that's the last we see of them. We don't see how they leave. Look, he does a they all screech, and they all screech, all the other ones, so that means they're all going. And we see there's quite a few of them. I don't know exactly how many, but, quite a few. And they all just go. We don't see how they go. Do they transport, with the teleporter? Do they take a shuttle? Does the other big ship dock with them? We don't know. It doesn't tell us. They just go. And then, that's it, basically. And then all that's sorted out. And then we cut to the restaurant part. Isaac asks how she is. She says she's fine. He sits, she asks him to sit down. And so they're friends again. She says she's missed him. And that's it, basically. That's the end of the episode. They don't ask how many crew they lost. Obviously the Admiral's gone. Loads of the crew, including that nurse and, the officer who saved Marcus and Ty. They don't ask about them. They don't they don't try and find a way to change them back. They're not even mentioned. Obviously on the Enterprise, they'd have done it with the transporters, wouldn't they? They'd used their, the last time they used the transporter, they'd used the transport, trace, whatever, and reconstituted their DNA that way. But they ain't got transporters in this, have they? But they don't ask about it, so we don't know how they got off the ship. We don't know what happened, how many crew they lost. It were quite a few, let's say 10. 10 of the crew they've lost. But they don't even mention it, because that's how the episode ends. As you'll see, we see some credits. There we go, that's it. We don't know, doesn't tell us. So that's a bit of a downer for me. Right, we'll get out of that. Right, that's a bit of a downer for me. Although, the episode was quite good. It was basically, it was Star Trek episode that we've seen before. I'm not a big fan of these, episodes like this. I wasn't a big fan of Identity Crisis or that one on Enterprise where the same sort of thing happened, where they turn them into aliens. I'm not a big fan of that sort of story, so this wasn't a big one for me. I'd give this a 6 out of 10. It were okay. And it was a Claire episode. And, she's a good actress and that. But I want to see more of Ed. Ed and them, that crew. Hopefully it'll happen later. Oh, well, there were a funny bit in it where Ed... We've seen it in the trailer, though, I think, where Ed gives a little speech to the crew and ends it with, "May the Force be with you." Whatever. I suppose that's funny. But yeah, not a great episode, but not a terrible one. Not as good as last week's. Hopefully next week's episode, which is called... Hang on, I can tell you, because I've seen... next week's called Mortality Paradox. So obviously that's going to be something about death, innit? Or not death. If it's a paradox, I don't know. Somebody's going to die, but not die at the same time, I presume. I don't know. It doesn't say anything about it. Let's have a look. What does this say here? I'm just looking at this. No, it doesn't say. It doesn't say. Sorry, I was just following the link to see if it told us anything about that episode, but it doesn't. It doesn't say anything about it. Apparently it's got Halston Sage in it. Oh, there we go. Right. Who played Kiali's predecessor, whose name I can't remember, but she's of the same race. So it's got her in it. So she's making a reappearance, which is interesting. Anyway, so there you go. So that was Shadow Realms from the Orville Season 2. Not a great episode. It was okay. It had a few issues, I must admit. But, whatever. It was okay. It was, an enjoyable episode. But not the best. 6 out of 10. And let's move on. Hopefully next week's episode will be better. But they can't all be good, can they? But there you go. So, we'll leave it there. Wherever you are in the universe, or whatever it's called in the Orville, in the Union, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see thee.